What's going on, Jeromes? Beautiful Friday afternoon. It is hot. We've hit that part of the weather calendar where it's freezing at night and hot as ass at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I love it, man. It's good times. But I got some Q&A. Also, we had the life Q&A, which I didn't have time earlier in the week. Life got in the way, but that will be out tomorrow. So there you go. First up, Vikes. Love your content. Thank you. The Unreal Vikings merch is fire. It is. Love our friends over at Unreal Co. My question is, I think Kwesi is getting a lot of heat for his past couple of drafts, but I noticed Boo Jr. got some snaps for this past Saturday's game. Is he our cornerback 2 or 3, or has he been on rotational snaps? Been a little bit rotational. Evans getting dinged up in the Bears game certainly pushed him out there, but the Vikings have been operating a lot. All right, so this is not updated, but whatever. So basically, swap out Tristan Jackson to the practice squad, blah, blah, blah. But basically, the Vikings have been using Josh Mattison a lot in the slot. So, I mean, Murphy and Evans have been your starters. Blackman has been sprinkled in there sparingly. Booth did get a little bit of run as well. So, I mean, basically, Mattison is playing free safety, box safety, linebacker, slot cornerback. That's what he's doing, man. Yeah, but no, it was a good showing by Booth Jr. Hopefully, he builds on that. Deshaunte Peterson, do you think they will keep giving Mattison opportunities, or do you think they will let Akers cook up like he's been doing with the opportunities he's had? I'm still kind of blown. They saw the run for 8 and said, let Mattison play the rest of the game. It's fair. I mean, Akers has looked a lot more explosive in the limited work that he's gotten, and I think part of it is that they trust Mattison, even though Mattison has really struggled all the way around, and not just inefficiency in the run game, but drops. He's got 5 on the season. Also, pass protection wise, he hasn't been great this year. So I think part of it, Mattison and Hockenson are just up in their own heads. I think they just have to get over it and get on with it. But Akers does deserve more work. Quintenberg, 3 items parlay. Do you think Cam Akers will take over for Mattison this season? Yes. 2, if the Vikings had a choice to draft between Penix and Sanders, who would you go with? I personally would go with Penix, but I see the upside with Sanders for sure. 3, do you think we still got a good shot at the playoffs? Yes. I think the Vikings schedule certainly softens up in the middle, as well as it's replete with NFC games. Plus, the Vikings are 1-0 in division, which could be important. And also, I think that the Lions are due for a regression to the mean. There you go. Next up, Nick Costa. With the run game pretty much being abysmal every week, with Cam Akers finally get more snaps. Lots of Cam Akers questions. Usually, I sort through these. Yes. Also, any chance the Vikings will be buyers at the deadline? Derrick Henry one time. I mean, that would just be. That would be such against type, because Kwesi, obviously the analytics thing, and so you're bringing aboard a 29-year-old running back. I don't know, man. It would be fun. Planes and gains. I think Brian Flores has done a decent job helping the defense improve. Yes, he has. Something I don't understand is whenever we blitz, which is a very frequent, our outside corner is always 10 yards off. It's a good question. Where it could be a spot where they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, where they're trying to get pressure, but also they're trying not to get beat on deep shots. And it could be a spot too. And we watched some of the All-22 where if they're playing single high or cover 0, that would make sense since they're concerned about deep shots behind the cornerback. And you saw against the Devontae Smith shot against the Caleb against the Eagles, and the Josh Palmer shot against Caleb Evans, the interception that turned into a touchdown. They are worried about getting behind them. So when they're off, generally it's when they're playing cover 1 or cover 0. But it could be a spot too where, say they blitz 6, and then you got 5 in coverage, and you got 2 deep safeties and 3 corners across. I mean, it could be that, but then you'd essentially have 2 receivers uncovered. I don't know. It's always give and take. Rainy day. I think if we beat the Niners, we'll make some big trades on defense, some D-line help. Who do you think we get? I don't really know off the top of my head who is disgruntled. But in terms of defensive line help, I absolutely would take some. And that should be priority number 1 for the Vikings in the upcoming draft. Even though, yes, quarterback is important, I think this D-line class could be pretty damn good as well. Next up, Toe Nibbler. Do you think the Vikings offense can perform well enough to beat the Niners defense? Yes. So you're at home. Greenlaw may not play at TBD there. And yeah, the Niners are tough. But the Vikings offense, I mean, even without JJ, should be able to get something going. All right, but the Vikings got to do much better on third down and make sure they're doing better on first down, so third down isn't third and forever. Also, when they're in the red zone, they got to score a touchdown. I mean, no settling for field goals against the Niners. One logo now. Personally, don't see Alexander Mattison being the running back in the future. With that being said, do you think the Vikings will get a running back in this draft? Any other positions you think they could get in the earlier rounds? I love the content. Keep with the work. Skull, right? I mean, so they missed it with Dwayne McBride. Is what it is. But in terms of just getting like a Isaiah Pacheco, like day 3 type running back, I mean, I'd be all aboard. I mean, I really do like Blake Corum from Michigan. Probably going to go in the mid round somewhere in there. There's going to be a handful of like really talented running backs coming in. I don't think it should be a priority per se, but we'll see. Other positions, kind of depends on what happens in free agency. Like if Daniil, Davenport, and Wanham all leave, edge is obviously a need. I think defensive line is a need. Offensive line, I actually think they're kind of okay. Which is weird to say, man. I think that they obviously should look at quarterback. Also, a little bit of linebacker depth would be important too. Jeanette Teagan, I love your content. Thank you. The question is if you look at the Vikings roster, they could be 6-0. They're 2-4, and how important is it to get a win on Monday? I mean, looking at the roster, yes. I mean, it's a talented roster, and the Vikings beat themselves in every single one of these games, and people see the Eagles and the Chiefs as 2 of the best teams in the league. They played in the Super Bowl last year. The Vikings had them where we wanted them and gave it away. And same thing with the Chargers game. So yes, I mean, this team should be at minimum 5-1, potentially 6-0, and that's what's frustrating. Let's see here. Cody Pierce. I don't know if it was just me, but when Boots Jr. was in the Bears game, I was worried he was going to get bodied. Seeing that he held his own out there, will he get a lot more field time? He should. Yeah, but also, it should be a spot where Murphy sitting in the slot and then Booth and Evans on the outside. I think that was the plan coming in the entire way. And also get some Blackman in there too. JDT, 2 questions here. I think the Lions keep their hot streak going, or do you think they fade out towards the end of the season? I think they fade a little bit. I think attrition will catch up to him. Plus, the middle, I mean, they're in Baltimore this week. They got some tough games coming up. I think that they could potentially become crashing back at earth. Also, do you think that we'll get a chance to win the division, even if we lose the Niners and fall 2-5? Maybe, but, I mean, the margin of error definitely gets tough. But certainly starting out 1-0 in the division on the road is important. You'd have to beat the Packers. You basically have to run the rack in terms of division games and go 6-0, including 2 wins over the Lions at the end. Next. Flash. What do you think about Michael Penix Jr. staying in purple? Are injuries, passing style a worry for you as a quarterback? For us as a possibility. I really do like Penix. I know people make a lot about his sidearm style. It's, I mean, it's a little Phillip Rivers-esque, but it's something that can be worked on. I do worry about the knees, but medical checks will take care of that. But I do like that Penix does drive the ball downfield with authority. I do like that he has leadership and intangibles. I think that I think he's going to be a big-time question mark, but I think that he has a chance to be a very good professional quarterback. Vale Chen, do you think Booth will be a decent starter for us in this point score from Austria? Yes. 600 Howells. Would you trade JJ to the Bears for their 2 first-round picks this year and 1 if the offer is made? I mean, you're trading him in division, which is tough. But say the Bears end up with, say, 1-4. I mean, 1-2 is a little pie in the sky, but say 1-4. You get your quarterback in the future. Maybe you end up with Marvin Harrison Jr. And you get the Bears' future first-round pick, which, I mean, they're going to be very poopy next year, too. It's kind of tempting. You caught me in a weak moment. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, future first-round picks. You don't know where they're going to be. They could be middle or at the end. But, I mean, 2 picks that are up in the top 5, including number 1 overall. It's tough, man. No, can't do it because then you got to play them twice a year. Traveler, thoughts on the quarterback draft in 2023 so far? Richardson looked good when he wasn't injured. Stroud's my guy. I love C.J. Stroud in the draft process. I thought that he was the safest of the quarterbacks. Bryce Young's in a really tough spot because Carolina is so talent deficient and they don't have first-round picks the next 2 years, and it's going to be tough for them. I think what they should do is to be full-on sellers at the trade deadline. Like trade Chin, even though he's dinged up. Trade Burns, trade Derek Brown, trade basically anything on defense you can get value for, and pour it all in the offense next year. Because, yeah, the defense will be bad, but the offense is just so deficient of talent right now, and you can't do that with Bryce Young. Brady, do you think the Vikings should trade anyone right now, like trade for anyone right now like Chase Young? Chase Young would be kind of sexy, man. I'm not going to lie. Chase Young and Danielle Hunter on the same D-line. I mean, just get rid of Marcus Davenport. I don't care at this point. Chase Young, yes. I mean, they just want to say F it, make a move for Patrick Surtain II. Go ahead. I would like to pick up a guy like Shelby Harris, but I don't know if Seattle will part ways with him. Yeah. Super Evo. What type of vids you put out to generate the most? What type of vids you put out generate the most in the Venmo? Post game power rankings or when there's a big trader acquisition? It's hard to say. It can't really track the Venmo, but I will say in terms of super chat, like halftime and post game shows, you usually generate the most. Meme team. Number one, do you think Jaren Hall will be the future of the Vikings or in the NFL in its entirety? I think he'll get a shot. I think that there's a lot to like about his game, but it's still too early to tell, too. Do you think that the Vikings will make another trade before the deadline? Maybe too early to ask this. Yes. I actually think the Vikings might be buyers. I think that most of us believe that the Vikings will take quarterback in the draft, but which one do you think the Vikings will most likely and realistically take? Well, yeah, even though people want the Vikings to lose out, it's not likely. Penix is reasonable. Knicks, I know the Knicks plays an ecology type offense, but I mean that arm is live, man. JJ McCarthy, I know we have this question later on, but JJ McCarthy has all the tools. He's just in a very run oriented offense. Yeah, Ewers is interesting. I don't even have Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward on this one. This is like an older list. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Travis, Hartman, Van Dyke. I mean, there's a lot of really interesting quarterbacks in this class, man. Let's hear next. Justin Colburn. If you had to choose number one, which player would you extend right now? Danielle, a bajillion %. Well, besides JJ Danielle, which player would you bench right now? Mattison. Which player would you trade right now? Marcus Davenport. Even though he's on IR, I don't care. Karate Chop. Make up your mind, Sylvie. Hey. Karate Chop. Which 5 current Vikings would you choose to make up their own version of the Avengers? And what would their superpowers be? So the Archer would be Ezra Cleveland. He's a hunter. Well, Danielle, brute strength, physical freakness. Harrison Smith, he's a hitman, sniper. Christian Darrisaw, silent violence. Yeah. Jaquelin Roy, his superpower is that they don't play him enough. And Ivan Pace Jr., his superpower is Napoleon complex. Nah. Bob, Minnesota Sports Cards. What does our projected salary cap look like for the next couple years? We sign JJ and also sign Kirk to short term again. Keep in mind, Darrisaw is in line for an extension by that too. I don't have numbers in front of me. It does clear up. There's a backlog in 2024, but that's accounting the dead, the void years coming home to roost for Danielle and Kirk. But if they're extended, they kick the can a little bit more, and it frees a little bit of things up. But I mean, the Vikings are far from the situation of the Saints, where the Saints basically paying themselves into a corner. The Vikings are actually in really good cap space because of Brzezinski. Cypher, do you think there's a chance the Vikings go J.J. McCarthy in this year's draft? He's my favorite quarterback class. I think he'll be a dog in this league. I really want the Vikings to draft him, but think they'll be higher on Mary Williams. Well, the thing about that is I don't think that the Vikings will be in the vicinity to draft Williams and May. I think that, despite the wishes of the tankers, I think the Vikings will accidentally win 7, 8, 9, 10 games, and I think they'll be in the playoff mix. But I think that Williams and May go 1-2. I don't know in which order. I think that Penix and McCarthy, Sanders, and Ewers, maybe Knicks, have a chance to be first-round picks. It wouldn't shock me if there's 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks in the first round. If there's 10 in the top 100. That does make sense too. But I think the Vikings could be in prime spot for McCarthy, especially since his lack of college production will be discounted, but I mean his traits are off the chart. And he developed. He throws an NFL caliber ball outside and deep, and it looks like he has good patience. And even though Michigan's O-line is fantastic, like he does great off script and under duress. I like him a lot. Osama been smoking. Would you want to switch back to the 4-3? And do you miss Jaron Kearse now that he's been successful with the Cowboys? I mean, Jaron. I said this about Jaron. Jaron is the worst good player in the league. Like, he's good and he brings the thunder sometimes, but he makes some really stupid mistakes out there too. But it's good to see Jaron thriving in Dallas. Switching back to the 4-3. If they're not dead set on getting a 350-pound nose tackle, yes, and go from there, man. I mean, because that's where it starts and ends. So if you have a 3-man front, you need that nose tackle, and not a 295-pound Harrison Phillips. You don't need that, man. Fee, I'm starting to be concerned about Kirk without JJ. He looked pretty bad without him. Plus, I think we need to make Chad Handle run by one. Well, it is going to, I mean, you take away the best receiver in the game. I mean, the quarterback play is going to be a question mark. But I think a lot of it, too, was I'm shocked that they didn't run more play action against the Bears. Kind of shocked about that. But, I mean, Kirk could be fine. And Ty Chandler, I mean, Ty Chandler's got some spark too, man. Like I would like to see more Akers and more Ty Chandler, maybe even some more Kinkene and Wangu. Gavin Tomlinson, do you think the Vikings should trade up for a quarterback in the draft like Drake May or Caleb Williams? If the price is right, sure, go up and go get your guy. And I have a huge crush on Drake May. I'm sort of cooling on Caleb Williams. Like I feel like there's starting to be some cracks in the armor. Let's see here, Ian. Apologies if this is long. Oh, boy. Yeah. But do you think Kirk missed his window to be good with the Vikings? No. I think that Kirk is definitely going into his own. And plus, having J.J., Darisaw, and all the talent around him, I think that he's in a perfect spot. I think he realizes it, too. Even though, I mean, signing with the Falcons does make some sense. I think that he understands that his best shot to put up numbers and have a chance for a ring is right here in Minnesota. And I think that even though, yes, he deserves a contract freshening up, I think that he might leave a little bit on the table for the first time in his career. J. Roshodo. Vikings should be more worried about the D-line than anything else. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Where the Vikings' defensive line has been deficient, it is deficient. And Harrison Phillips out there fighting the good fight, except they got him playing out of position. Dean Lowry has been asked. Thank you. Bullard has been good against the run. They need to play Tonga and Jaquelin Roy more and more and more. That's what they got to do, man. True Essence connection. With Naylor back, should he be the wide receiver 3 with JJ out? I mean, it's not possible. So, this is old. So, Jalen Naylor is good. Well, the start off his practice window, he's going to be activated. But Addison, KJ, Naylor with a little bit of Brandon Powell in there, sure. Yes, I'm in. Shikaru, which current quarterback in the league that the Vikings could trade for would JJ be happy with staying in Minnesota besides Cousins? The Wi-Fi got our first apartment together, school from somewhere in Minnesota. Hey, congratulations. That's a big-time step. Quarterbacks around the league that JJ would be happy. I don't know, Fields. No, I'm trying to think of ones that are going to be available. Maybe Fields. I don't know. Fields needs a lot of work, though. A lot of work. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't just pluck one that JJ would be super stoked about who's going to be available. Chevy Man. Does Naylor slide into wide receiver 3 if healthy? Yeesh. Miles, do you think Kirk will have a little extra juice going against the Niners because he knows that he could have been the guy, quite frankly? Should have been up until the Purdy era? Yes. And also, Kirk knows Shanahan. Shanahan knows Kirk. It does cut both ways, but I think Kirk is going to have a little bit of oomph and show up. Merle Hexam, what are your rankings of these 5 quarterbacks? Nick, Sanders, Penix, McCarthy, and Ewers. I will go Penix, McCarthy, Sanders, Ewers, Nix. There you go. Coltman, I feel like Kevin O'Connell gets too fancy with the play calling sometimes. What do you think? It feels like there's not really a flow with his play calling. Once he gets off of scripted plays, it kind of feels like it's sort of hodgepodge. Like the concepts don't build upon each other. There aren't counters to things. It just kind of is there. I don't know if that's off or accurate, but it seems like there isn't. there isn't like a groove where this offense just feels it. You know, it's very herky-jerky. You get what you get. Zaragoza. Is it normal for me to still get emotionally and spiritually triggered by watching the highlights of 09 versus Saints and against the Eagles? I mean, what could have been? What could have been? User, what are the chances you think the Vikings somehow can't land Caleb Williams? 50-50. Either it happens or no. I'd say 5%. 5% of the Vikings climb all the way up and go get him. Flame Lord, should the Vikings tank the season or trade for a new quarterback? No and no. Some Chin Wang. Will you be surprised if the Vikings don't draft quarterback with their first pick in 2024? By the way, this is my favorite channel for to go to for Vikings News. Hey, thank you. I mean, I think if the right guy is there, they'll take him. But also, I think that since the quarterback class is so deep, well, so people bring up the hit rate with round 2 or day 2 quarterbacks. You kind of have to throw that out the window this year because of the depth of this class. Where, I mean, with the quarterback tax, most quarterbacks taken in the second round probably should have been 3rd or 4th round picks. This year, there's probably going to be 1st round grades on guys that go day 2, and that's what's going to happen with this. So, I mean, the Vikings, if the right guy is there, like if the Vikings are on the clock and Penix or Sanders or Nix or McCarthy are there and they're the guy, top of the board, yes, I think they take him. But also could be a spot too where they wait until day 2 and maybe one of their guys slides or maybe they maneuver on day 2, go get him. That does make sense as well. And plus they can address other positions need, notably defensive line. Jack Hall, what is your opinion on trading for someone like Justin Fields or Murray, and what do you think the value is? I would trade for – I'm not trading for Murray in that contract. I mean, there's just so many question marks. And I like Kyler, but I'm not in love with him. You know what I mean? Fields – Fields, it seems like there's so much potential there that Chicago just ruined him. Yeah. I wouldn't trade much for either one. T-Money. Do you think the players and coaches actually see what the fans see? Lack of offensive production, playing down to opponent, too-man checkdowns. Always wondered they're too busy thinking about 5D chess, forgetting that this is a kid's game. I think they're aware of it, but also I think that there's like an insular thinking about things. It's like when Wes Phillips went off about fans, diving into narratives when Ed Ingram had been improving his play. Sure, I think they do see things differently. And also, they see things from a much more conservative angle since, that's the football that they were brought up with and not playing Madden like the rest of us. Jermaine Williams, when was the last time you've been to a Vikings home game they won? Vikings-Packers, like 09? Somewhere in there. Yeah, don't go to many games. Alec Rue, thoughts on Derrick Henry trade rumors with the Vikings and some other teams. 4th-round pick, final offer. Let's go. R.M. Fujiwater. There's going to be a lot to unpack here. Is it a bizarre situation with Vikings trade everyone not named J.J. Hunter, Osborne? Obvious, but let's trade. Offer Lerman Tunsil. Darrisaw, no. Someone offers a Tunsil deal for Darrisaw. Be tempting because from the Tunsil deal, the Dolphins ended up with Tyreek and Waddle and Bradley Chubb, I believe. It's pretty insane. I mean, if someone comes in and offers a farm for Darrisaw, you got to think about it. It's Cup. Still no Reisner or Akers for more than 4 or 5 snaps. Are they trying to miss the playoffs or what? It's a good question about the Akers thing. Reisner, Ezra and Ingram had stepped up their game, so respect there. But with Ezra's foot injury, it could be Reisner time. Traveler, how much would the Vikings need to lose to have Coach Flo take over? They'd have to lose out. O'Connell would have to lose the locker room, and O'Connell would have to have like some sort of public embarrassment. I think it's very unlikely. Matthew Schmidt. Who's your favorite quarterback of the upcoming class? Best fit for us? I like Drake May, man. I think Drake May is going to be an absolute stud in this league. I love the mobility. I love that he's got ice water in his veins. I love that he's got an FU arm where, hey, you don't think I can fit in this window? FU. He's got size, he's got durability, and I think he's going to be really, really good. I like Caleb Williams, yes, has all the hype, and I think that he's going to be solid as well, but I think Drake May is going to be the safer pick. Michael Converse. I was excited to see Kevin McConnell's innovative offense with Harris head coach, but honestly, there isn't anything that stands out to me other than creative or cutting edge, just some trick plays that never seem to work. Is it a fair assessment, or do you see it differently? Yes. It feels like this offense is still in the Kubiak era. And frankly, when Kevin Stefanski was OC, I actually thought the Vikings offense was a little bit more creative. But I would just was like, hey, when JJ is healthy, how do you funnel him targets the way that they funnel targets to Cooper Kupp? Didn't even see that. Didn't see it, man. Scully, if the Vikings beat the Niners, do you see them making a run to the playoffs or Super Bowl? Yes, playoffs. Yeah. Carson Puddle, would you, GM of the Minnesota Vikings, trade TJ Hawkinson? Nah, it's too early to say that. But he does need to step his ass up. Travis Murphy, who's your favorite quarterback prospect that isn't May or Williams? Mine is J.J. McCarthy. I like Penix and McCarthy. User, last year the Bills lost to the Jets, and then they played us. And this year the 49ers played the Browns, lost, and now they play us. Bring it. Bring it. OTL Chad, Skull from Sacramento, California, Sacktown, capital in the house. But is it just me, or does it seem like Kirk hasn't gotten a roughing the passer call all year? He's gotten a couple, but he's taken some shots, man. And frankly, you could have considered calling roughing the passer on that final play against the Chiefs too. TG, does Caleb Williams want some stakeholder of an NFL team if he gets drafted by that team? I think that's a lot of poo-poo. Yeah, no, not gonna happen. Isaac Wolf, should we try and trade for someone like Christian Wilkins? I like me some Christian Wilkins, man. I do. Wild Bumbly, percent-wise, what are the chances of being the Niners, and would you be putting a few jelly beans on it? 50-50, either happens or it don't. And yes, I already put some jelly beans on Vikings +7. I got them early, and also Vikings money line. Let's go. Obama wood chips. Any defensive players that would want the Vikings to draft? So just focusing on defensive line. I haven't gone through the whole gamut yet, but Cross from Notre Dame, the defensive lineman, he's gonna have his draft stock tanked because of size, but he's a dude, man. Jerzon Newton from Illinois, just absolute rock in the middle. Leonard Taylor from Miami. Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy's teammate last year with LSU. And Tyleek Williams from Ohio State. I mean, there's just pile up on the defensive line, man. Let's go from there. Ryan Schultz, you're our favorite Vikings optimist, Sandy. Thank you. But if Kwesi is unable to get Justin Jefferson stay in Minnesota, how negatively would that sour your outlook on the franchise going forward? Well, if you did have to trade Jefferson, you better get a mint for him. We're talking about 3 1s minimum. And you have to find your quarterback of the future and then hit on it. And then if that happens, then it's kind of a wash. Coburg, I'm more excited about after the season. First off, we get first grade quarterback class, but that's not all. We know the Packers and the Bears are going to be dumpster fires after the season. Talk about LeFleur being fired and the GM too. With the Vikings, Bears probably going to fire everyone coaching staff. Division up for grabs. Yes, I think the future of the Bears and the Packers is pretty bleak. Praise the sun. Feels like the Vikings offense has been bad on third down for the last few years. Thoughts? Yes. Which is kind of saying something since you have all that talent. User. If JJ averages 180 yards per game, he'll get 2K. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, bring it. Joey Best Shorts. Will the Vikings take the W and will Purdy have a good night? They have to throw. They have to force Purdy to throw long. Like, take away everything short and have him beat you in the deep windows. See if he can do it. And just get after that ass. Liam Van Tempest. Should we sign Najee Thompson to a 14-year contract right now? And the bloke looked a little better than prime Matthew Slater against the Bears. Yes. I mean, he's a stud on special teams. Love him. Nobel War Prize. Rank Minnesota's men's professional sports teams, jersey uniforms from best to worst. I'll say the Twins are the best. Wolves 2, Vikings 3, Wild 4. And also Loons 4, Wild 5. I'm not really a big fan of the Loons kit. User. Is it possible to replace TJ and or Mattison's hands? I mean, science progresses every day. Ben Durham Klein. Tell me the downside of cutting a running back and signing Henry to a 1-year deal. None. Bring it. Brian Force, if we trade Hicks, why not try Cena at linebacker since he can't make the lineup at safety? I mean, it's fair. Or kick Mattison in there? Sure. Derek Johnson. Is Kevin Collins' style of play calling too conservative to be in the NFL? I mean, we're approaching that. Like, I mean, you got all these weapons. You got all these thoroughbreds. Let them run, man. J-Row, the suburb. No team needs all these elite receivers. Only player that deserves to be paid over $30 million is quarterback. Chiefs only have Travis Kelce and a good enough defense. They can win the big game. If you ask me, let Jefferson go, get a ton of draft capital, and build that team that can win a championship. It's a hard truth Vikings fans won't listen to. Again, if you're guaranteed to get your quarterback in the future, sure. Luis Gonzalez, why is it that every time the Jeromes media wants us to trade all of our good players when in reality we are a couple good pieces away from a Super Bowl team? It's fair. Why is it always Vikings blow up instead of Vikings made this trade and make them Super Bowl contender? I never understood that as a Vikings fan. That's honestly a fair assessment. Where, again, looking at these games, the Vikings basically just beat themselves in all 4 of their losses, 3 of them against quality opponents. So it's kind of tough. Kanye West's biggest fan, Kevin O'Connell, needs to give a play calling. Yes, I think West would be filling in fine. Drew Smith, I feel like the games in London are tired and overdone now. The NFL has been trying to break into Europe for years now. Yeah, 3 seems like a lot. And we haven't even gotten to like the Germany games. But I like the when it's a 1-off or 2-off thing. Understand that. But it seems like they're oversaturated now. And the idea of moving a Super Bowl to London is just moronic. Alejandro Marquez, latest on Lewisine and Asamoah. Seemed as a healthy scratch against the Bears, and Asamoah got a little bit of run against Chicago. Hopefully we see more of that. But that's it. Q&A session for the week. You guys are the best. Skol, production value.